again, after the pandemic, a number of social services that are being provided in the community have felt the hit. And we are looking for revitalizing those entities such as Urban League. We'd like to um, support their mission, support what they provide to the community, again, that will ultimately serve and improve uh, the overall um, space in which the community thrives upon. It would also help with the youth in terms of providing them with tools and after school programs. It will also help with reducing crime in our areas. All of those good things that a city should and has, this city has done in the past. So again, Urban League is, they were here, Mr. Brown was here earlier, however, because we became very lengthy in our discussion, he has gone, I guess he ran out of time, but he came to advocate for this need. Then we have the Black Agenda Alliance. This is also a group in the community that is providing community outreach to youth. They bring in particularly young men. They have about 6 to 8 acres of land whereby they are able to let young men stretch their legs, show them the fundamentals of growing into manhood. They're on the campus. And I would like to see that agency, that organization to continue to thrive and give back to the community and show young men in particular to what they need to do to continue to go on the right path. Then we have neighborhood associations, we have NONA, and then we have this new emerging organization. Again, we had the individual that was here earlier, Larry Shannon, Bishop Shannon. Uh, these two organizations are going to assist with getting neighborhoods back on the right foot, the right track, uh, gather and utilize more engagement into the community. And so again, they're needing a lift to get back into the space that we were in prior to the pandemic. I move that we approve these.
I'll second. We'll now start the public hearing. Are proponents, please, on number 10?
Luis Jimenez, 2709 Dewey Avenue. I want to support the $50,000 that Ms. Johnson, Councilor Johnson, brought forward. I also want to support the remaining itemized 50,000 that the councilors are bringing forward. I think, I guess procedurally, under budgetary matter, is a good development in the last few years. I also and I support this number 10 because of the services that they're providing. But I do want to encourage or point out that public spaces are important. So do look at your public spaces inventory the city provides. I think Mr. Harding is going to make an amendment to his
All right, let's keep it to agenda item number 10.
to his item. Well, I'm going to leave, as you know, recalled. But I want to support any additional amendments to public spaces.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other proponents to number 10?
Cheryl Weston, 1299 Omaha, Nebraska, 68102. And I don't want to be called out of order, President Festerson, but I did check with Jim Downing to how I was to be able to present my opponent or proponent and opponent to number 10 because it was all hooked into one. I am very much in supportive of the $10,000 going to North Omaha Neighborhood Alliance. I think that neighborhoods in North Omaha need to have any assistance possible to be able to build their neighborhood associations. At one time, my previous residence, I lived in the area of the oldest neighborhood association that existed in the city of Omaha. And what happened is because as those members became older and younger members did not join, that evaporated. Now we have NONA, which is trying to help build those back up because they play an important part, because they bring the community together and people together and bring people together to come down here and see you. So I'm very much in supportive of that. I'm also very much in supportive of the $10,000 going to the Black Agenda Alliance. They do an extremely job in North Omaha with helping particularly young Black men so that they don't become part of the criminal justice system. They help them to become and understand what being a man is about, their responsibilities, physically, mentally. They're helping them to understand financial literacy. They do a tremendous job, and they could use more money than this $10,000. What I am opposed to is that $20,000 going to the Urban League. That is not enough. It should be going to the Black Allegiant Alliance. And I say that because in November 22, the city of Omaha, through ARPA funds, gave Urban League $300,000. Mackenzie Scott, the ex-wife of Amazon, she gave him a $2.5 million. I think that should be sufficient. And then also did background research from the time that the former executive director left to become city staff for the mayor here. The salaries dropped, so they have now gotten another $40,000 additional because the current executive director and assistant or VP director, I'm not sure which title, their salaries have put $40,000 back into the pot. The Urban League at this time, when there are so many other organizations, Councilman Johnson, that could use that $20,000, I am opposed to giving that to them. I don't know how you break it up or amend it or what. And then for the new urban community development, here's another. We have enough organizations, nonprofit organizations in North Omaha that are doing good work that we don't need another new one in emergency to start up and help them. Why not give that money to groups that have shown what they have done? They have a track record. That's where I think that money should go to. So as I said, I asked Jim Downing how to come up here to speak what I wanted to say. So I'm not off record. I don't want to be escorted out. So I appreciate that. But I just don't feel, and I don't know how you amend it or change it. But I'm not alone in speaking when our community is saying, why are you giving more money to an organization that already has gotten close to $2.8 million when you could help other organizations? So that's the reason why I'm an opponent.
Thank you. Yes, and it's noted that you're a proponent of the item, but an opponent to the third allocation there. All right, thank you. Other proponents to number 10? Seeing none, any opponents?
Larry Store, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha, 68132. I am definitely opposed to $10,000 for Black Agenda Alliance. And the reason, again, is I don't like the wording. It's probably a new thing, like this lady said, another new one. I'm not sure I'm against Urban League because I think they have done some good. But the point is, all the years that they've been in existence, are they not yet self-sufficient? Does not the community philanthropic community and the nationwide 501c3s help support them? The city of Omaha residents are being asked for more. At some point, every one of these nonprofits have to become self-sufficient, or you cut the funds, because there's not going to be any funds left. ARP is disappearing real fast, and a grant will eventually disappear. But at Constitution Week, you are giving away your sovereignty again to the national government, which is not considered in our republic. The concept of federalism, yes, share government, but you are not supposed to be subservient to the federal government. And when you use grant money and ARPA money, you are being superseded by their rules. And when they want to pull the money, they'll pull the money, and then all these people are going to be mad at you. You got to stop it.
Any other proponents or opponents to number 10? Seeing none, public hearings closed. There's no further lights. There was a motion and a second to approve. Roll call.
Johnson. Melton.
Yes.
Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0. Item 11, a resolution to approve a revision to the 2024 budget to increase the general fund in the Parks Department by $50,000 for the Willow Wood subdivision.
Public hearing and vote on number 11 is today. This item was introduced by Ms. Melton. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I'll be quick. I don't my microphone. There we go. Instead, I know that the mayor has traditionally, like I had said before, kind of allocated $350,000 for council members to allocate to community service. I actually asked our Parks Director, Matt Kalcevich, there's some projects that need to be done, I think, in parks in my district, but Willowwood specifically is a neighborhood that we annexed, and it's a neighborhood that has over 74 acres of common ground that the parks have to take care and maintain. 74 acres for one little neighborhood. This is not a neighborhood with a HOA that collects dues that can do any of this on their own. These are hardworking people that live in Willowwood, and we've kind of gotten, at least since I've gotten on council, we've gotten behind. We're at least 10 years behind. So every year, Parks works really hard, and they try and maybe get an acre or 2 or 3 cleaned up, but there's 74. And so by this time, parts of it that we cleaned up 10 years ago when I got on council needs to be cleaned up again, and there's parts of it that's never been touched. So I'm just reallocating that money back into the Parks Department budget in order to help maybe get this issue taken care of for Willowwood. I think if we could get the 74 acres maybe cleaned up all at once, Parks is going to be able to have maybe put on a track for continued maintenance. So really, this is deferred maintenance in an area of our city that just really needs the brush, the dead trees, tons of it that needs to be removed. So I'm just asking that my money go back into the parks budget for that purpose. Thank you.
Thank you. Proponents of number 11 today. Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing's closed.
Move the approval.
There's a motion and a second to approve. No further lights. Roll call.
Johnson.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes.
Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0. Item 12, a resolution to approve a revision to the 2024 budget to increase the general fund community service programs by $40,000 for the Nebraska Center for Workforce Development and Education, $5,000 for the Healthy Housing Omaha, and $5,000 for the Omaha Irish Cultural Center.
Public hearing and vote on number 12 is today. Mr. Begley, this is your amendment. You may open.
President, we have Jim Dowding here. Jim Dowding. It's been a long day. He's back
He's
there.
always here.
Jim Vecchio, Irishman, Italian here. I got it. Sorry. Apologies. Mr. Vecchio, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thanks for coming down today, and I'm excited to support, once again, the Nebraska Center for workforce development and education. If you want to give, I know you can be long-winded, so if you could hit your main points on the great work that the Nebraska Center for Workforce Development and Education does, and I'll fill in whatever you miss.
Certainly.
Welcome today. Thanks for coming.
Well, first of all, to follow protocol, it's Jim Vecchio, and the business address is 6001 Grover Suite, Suite 2, 68106. You know, I just want to say, I know it's been a long day, and I'm not trying to placate anybody, but I appreciate what you guys are doing today. I know this is pretty tough on some of the conversation, but I do appreciate your service to the city. The Nebraska Center for Workforce Development and Education is a 501c3, and we actually have 3 programming disciplines underneath the center itself. We have what's called Project Reset, where we mentor justice-involved individuals, and we mentor them, coach them, call it what you will, and try to provide them a career pathway to skilled trades. Because we all know that we've heard, we've read that the trades are actually in a dire straight situation the next 5 years, where they're going to have to really fill a skill gap, about 5,500 to 6,000 retirees. So the mission for Project Reset is to mentor those justice-involved individuals and guide them in a career of the skilled trades. Then we have our resiliency program, and that is a nice, I'd say, a use of euphemism for mental health, and that is where some of our participants that come out of the justice system do need help in this regard, as well as first responders, some of the health professionals that came out of the pandemic that was mentioned here earlier a couple times, where, you know, they help enough people, and some of their people that walk through the front doors to the general public looking for that type of help. And that is something that we're able to do for some of these first responders, some of the healthcare workers, or whoever needs it right now. That's our primary focus, is for some of the first responders, for that matter. And then we have our tools program, which is an acronym for trades that offer opportunities that lead to success. And we're introducing the trades, or a pathway to the trades, to area high school juniors and seniors. And we've been in partnership with Omaha Public Schools, trying to get into the schools, some of the public schools itself that are probably underprivileged, and some of those kids itself with the lower in the socioeconomic levels of the families, and we help guide them in the career of the trades itself. And then and we have a association with the William Brennan Institute for Labor Studies at UNO. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, and I tried to be as succinct as I could there for you, Councilman Bailey.
No, well done, Jim. And I want to emphasize the investment of this $40,000. It's one of the parts you said was, besides recruiting young men and women to a path in the building trades where you get a good paycheck, some dignity, retirement, health care, all the things that are important. But people that are incarcerated, everybody needs a hand sometimes, and some guidance, and a second chance. And that's what this program gives. We offer, the Nebraska Center offers, instead of being incarcerated again, recidivism is a major problem, building more jails. This helps to get people back on their feet through the mentoring program you talked about. In the building trade, that somebody can have their hand and teach them the ropes and teach them the structure of your 40-hour work week, reporting to work on time. I think you guys even provide boots.
We do.
And tools if necessary. I mean, we could sit here and talk all day about this is an investment to keep people from going back to jail. It gives them that hand and a light. So thank you for coming down, and I appreciate
Absolutely. Thank you.
all the work you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Other proponents?
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Council. My name is Jeff Weaver. I am the Director of Community Partnership for Lutheran Family Services Healthy Housing, located at 1425 South 13th Street, Omaha, 68108.
So I think maybe, I'm told you might be on this next item.
Wait till we're done with the Nebraska Center.
Oh, we're just doing with the Nebraska Center?
Yeah.
My
If you want
apologies.
to support the Nebraska Center, you're welcome.
I support them as well.
Well said. We'll get you on the next item. Other proponents to number 12? Mr. Corrigan. Yes.
I am sorry. I wanted to make sure we weren't done with the Nebraska Center. If there was any other comment. So I really got you all screwed up now.
We're okay. This
We're all
is the same item. Yep,
Yeah,
yep,
Okay.
Yep.
So, John, I'm sorry. You brought it up again.
yep. We're still on proponents to number 12.
That's my fault. I apologize.
I see an Irishman in the audience. I suspect he's on this item.
Good morning, thank you, or good afternoon. John Corrigan, 6700 Mercy Road, Suite 501, 68106. I'm here just to offer our support for item 12 with respect to the $5,000 community grant to the Omaha Irish Cultural Center. I am a member of the board of the Omaha Irish Cultural Center. We started this organization about 10 years ago, and it has a goal and mission of providing awareness and the knowledge of the Irish cultural community, both in its development of the city of Omaha, but also in eastern Nebraska, western Iowa, and the communities where many Irish people settled and wound up then coming into the city. We achieve this goal or this mission by offering educational events, music, dance, history, lectures. We just hosted a lecture from Ireland last, I think on the 22nd of July, regarding an ancient poet that is resonating today in Ireland. Last year we hosted the U.S. ambassador from Ireland to Omaha, the first U.S. ambassador to visit the city in many, many years. And our next event will be hosting a noted historian regarding the Irish participation in the American Civil War. These are things that we do because at least in the last census, almost 15% of the people in Douglas County reported having some Irish heritage. We think that's an important thing to understand and to cultivate, and we participate both in getting grant funding from the Irish government, which we've received in assisting immigration and Irish immigrants in the area, as well as simple funding based on events that we have and donations that we receive. And so we'd ask that you approve this. I'm happy to answer any questions regarding the organization, and certainly there are a lot of great community organizations that are under consideration. We appreciate that the OICC would be one. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to call for additional proponents, and I'm going to invite you back up to the podium because, in fact, you were correct. Healthy housing in Omaha is part of this.
I didn't mean to be out of order.
This amendment. So we appreciate your brevity, but you're welcome to share your thoughts again.
Once again, my name is Jeff Weaver. I'm the Director of Community Partnerships for Lutheran Family Services Healthy Housing, located at 1425 South 13th Street, Omaha, Nebraska, 68108. Lutheran Family Services is committed to addressing housing issues that impact the health of our communities. We do that through a holistic approach through case management, education, and housing intervention. This approach provides the family with critical information impacting their health, steps to remedy any issues that are identified, and educate families to maintain their healthy homes after completion of our program. Our data-driven approach ensures effective service delivery, and our Asthma In-Home Response AIR program is a prime example. AIR supports families with asthmatic children by providing resources, healthy air supplies kits, and case management. This innovative and intentional approach was recognized nationally with the National Environmental Leadership Award by the EPA. The majority of our customers in previous years have been located east of 42nd Street. So we look at and work with families that are moderate to low income in addressing those respiratory issues that may be impacting their home, as well as radon, which we'll address in a moment. By reducing asthma-related emergency, AIR has significant cost benefits to the family and the community. According to a recent study, the average financial impact to families with an asthmatic child is over $3,000 annually. However, a recent study in the Journal of Asthma found that families who have enrolled in our AIR program after 6 months saw a reduction of 79% in emergency room visits, a 78% reduction in hospitalization, and a 46% reduction in asthma attacks. Involvement in AIR increases school attendance, less missed time at work for both those parents and guardians, and more funds available to the families, and less stress on local hospitals. Nebraska is ranked third as the third worst in our country as far as radon. We're behind Minnesota and Iowa. In addition to our work with the families who have impacted by asthma and respiratory illnesses, we conduct radon testing for qualified families. The CDC states that Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer in our country, behind only that of smoking. If levels are detected above the acceptable limit, we install a radon mitigation system to reduce those radon gases. Our program provides a legacy of improved living conditions that positively affect various aspects of family lives, including housing, jobs, schools, health, and finances. Our expertise in assessing home environments for risk mitigation, coupled with our dedication to education and patient empowerment, positions us as a vital partner in the healthcare system. At LFS Healthy Housing, we're not only transforming spaces, we're transforming lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other proponents to number 12? Seeing none, any opponents to number 12?
Larry Store, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha, 68132. I think I'm against everything except for the Irish. I haven't heard of them in quite a while. But these other programs are probably covered multiple places by multiple programs. When you add them all together, it's a powerful lot of money. If you take this agenda item from page 1 and add up all the things for community services, which I didn't have time to do, I would be probably totally astounded at the total dollar of that just on this agenda. I don't know how we can continue to support all that. Somebody's going to have to be told no somewhere along the line. Who will it be, and when will we start? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other opponents to number 12? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Mr. Bagley.
Thanks, Mr. President. Jeff, real quick question for you. Thanks for coming down today and all the work you do. You're located, I know I attended the ribbon cutting at the Lutheran Family Services building on 79th and Dodge.
That's correct.
Are you still going to keep a location down on Little Bohemia on 13th Street?
Yes, Jeff Weaver, 1425 South 13th Street, 68108. We're planning to keep that location there in the community. We think it's vital to be a part of the community and help invest in the community and be a centralized location that the people know where we're at, you know, as we're trying to move forward with that.
Okay, thanks for that, because I know last summer when I had a meeting with Kiernan was your director, and
That's correct.
and Ben Gray had set that up, and I had a nice chat with them and got a real good understanding of what this program does and the impact not only in people in District 3, but in North and South Omaha, east of 42nd, you said. So thanks for coming down today, and I'm glad to sponsor this today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that a
Any other
motion?
questions?
Motion to approve this, yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
There's a motion and a second. No further lights. Roll call.
Johnson.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes.
Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0. Item 13, a resolution to approve a revision to the 2024 budget to increase the general fund community service programs by $40,000 for the Heartland Hope Mission and increase the Parks Department budget by $10,000 to purchase communication boards for various park playgrounds.
Public hearing and vote on number 13 is today. This was introduced by Councilman Rowe. The floor is yours.
Mr. President, I have two items that I'd like for your consideration. The first one is a $10,000 request. I've been in communication with a mom down in Rowlett, Texas, and she has a son that is autistic and is nonverbal. And she's worked together with the team and put a company together called Smarty Symbols. And what they do is they create a communication board. It's basically a big sign that has symbols on it that allows nonverbal children to communicate with each other, their parents, and other kids. And I have envisioned that we could put 4 of these into 4 different parks in Omaha that would allow parents with autistic children or other kinds of disabilities to be able to enjoy the parks and the playgrounds that we have in Omaha. So it's a $10,000 request that I'd like your consideration on. The other item is a $40,000 request for Heartland Hope Mission. It's a mission that I've become familiar with, and I've invited the CEO, Chelsea Salafa, to come down and just speak to what the mission is doing and how they work. They're currently working in South Omaha and in the Millard area, West Omaha.
Thank you. Chelsea Salafu, 2021 U Street, 68107, and 15555 Industrial Road, 68144. So Heartland Hope Mission operates one of the largest food pantries here in the area. This year will serve over 75,000 people. That's about 56% higher than pre-COVID. But we are more than a pantry, and we really focus on helping families, first of all, not become homeless, and then secondarily, helping them become self-sufficient. So when people come in to receive our food services, everyone is able to meet one-on-one with a client service specialist, and we're doing a deeper intake there and looking at what all is going on in that family situation and what we can do to prevent them from becoming homeless. So that can include getting them signed up for SNAP, which is food stamps. We have relationships with the local utility companies to avoid shutoffs and get their bills paid down. We can help get them on Medicaid. We have a Jobs Path program to help connect people with employment opportunities and skills training. We also provide diapers, hygiene items, clothing, and then we can do direct referrals to over 200 other agencies, and we provide full case management for people who need that. The reason this is so critical is because we serve primarily working poor families and a lot of families that have never had to ask for help before, so they don't know what resources are available. So if they can come into our agency and be connected with all of the services they need, it really becomes a safety net so they don't become homeless and are able to work towards self-sufficiency. So we appreciate you considering support today. Thank you.
Thank you. Chelsea, I'd like to move approval for item 13.
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. I do need to continue with the public hearing first, however. Are there any other proponents on number 13 that want to speak? Seeing none, any opponents?
Did you say number 15?
13? Number 13, right, Larry?
Larry Storer, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha, 68132. I suppose it's a federal mandate.
This is number 13, right?
I thought you said 15.
13 right now.
Yeah. EPA. Oh, yeah, Big Brother.
No, we're on 13.
I'm sorry, 15,
Number 13.
13.
Wait two more, then come down.
Okay. Sorry. I guess I'll pass on that one.
Okay, thank you.
But it's in that long list of ungodly amount of money.
Any other opponents to number 13? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. There was a motion and a second to approve. Roll call.
Johnson. Melton.
Yes.
Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0. Item 14, a resolution to approve a revision to the 2024 budget to increase the general fund community service programs by $15,000 for the B&B Sports Academy.
Public hearing and vote on number 14 is today. This was introduced by Mr. Harding. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm waiting for my amendment to come back. I found a little, no, we're okay? Oh, okay. All right, thank you. I have my sheet back. We have an amendment of the whole. So in addition to the, what I had originally proposed on the $15,000 for B&B Sports Academy, which builds body, mind, and character, and for it's more than boxing. It's teaching kids how to be young women and young men, which I think is something that would be money well spent in our community. In addition to that, and you have the amendment of the whole in front of you, I'm also proposing $10,000 for Drive 25, Keep Kids Alive. This is a group that's headed up by Tom Everson here in Omaha, national in nature, but the local chapter. This is Councilmember Melton and I worked with Tom when we were switching over to FCC as our garbage hauler and recyclable collectors to put the idea was to put stickers, the Drive 25, you may have seen them around town in certain neighborhoods, Drive 25, Keep Kids Alive, on the carts, and we thought that would be, working those into the neighborhood would be a great reminder so people would slow down the neighborhoods. There were some legal issues that we had to work through that we couldn't overcome, so we couldn't do that project, but they have a number of other projects. As we talk a little bit about Vision Zero, and I do agree with some of the components of Vision Zero, not all of the components of Vision Zero, but certainly some of their efforts are about making sure we have safer streets. And as has been mentioned before, we make these we might be voting on these projects and for these 501c3s, but they still have to go through an approval process with Amber Parker and the grants committee at the administrative level too. And then the last one is on, it's under the Parks and Facilities non-personnel. This is actually, I think actually Ms. Weston left. I think she was the one who mentioned this too, and she brought up, and I know a lot of you are tired of hearing me say it too, that we're elected by district, but we work for the city of Omaha as a whole. I wanted to make sure that we also, as I said earlier, we've now closed a chapter on the last representative for District 4 and opened a new one today. But I wanted to make sure that in this budget, in the community, some of the community programs, to make sure we don't forget about District 4. So this money would actually just go back into the Parks Department because the skateboard park at Seymour Smith Park is in dire need of repair. I've talked with Director Kalsovich about that, and this doesn't certainly address the whole issue as it relates to what's needed for Seymour Smith Skateboard Park, but it certainly gets them well on their way. And I just wanted to make sure that, because we've had some people ask us not to pass the budget until a District 4 representative is seated, that because of timing and having to report our budget to the state is not possible. But again, wanted to make sure that we did something in this budget in those community dollars for District 4. So that's what the $35,000 for Seymour Smith Skateboard Park is. With that, I'd make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. We'll now take any proponents on number 14.
Tamika Meese, North Omaha Community Partnership, 2406 Fowler Avenue. In regards to the $15,000 for B&B Boxing, I do support that effort, and I would like for B&B Boxing to not only be recognized as just a sports academy that provides a safe haven for our children in our North Omaha community, but they also serve as violence prevention and also violence intervention programs. And B&B Boxing also partners with organizations like North Omaha Community Partnership, where we offer wraparound services such as food assistance, utilities assistance, mental behavioral health therapy, individual and group. This is a holistic effort that is put on by B&B Boxing Academy. So I just mainly wanted to speak in support of that, to not only look at it as, you're investing in, kids just coming into, a gym and boxing, but they are actually getting what they need. Their parents are actually getting the support that they need. It's bigger than that. And the philanthropic efforts of, our world champ, Bud Crawford, expands beyond his boxing academy. Thank you.
Thank you. Other proponents on number 14? Seeing none, any opponents?
13 or 14.
This is 14.
Larry Store, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha, 68132. I forgot to squeeze this in on all the other ones, so I'm going to do it now. I am opposed to anything that's going to possibly reduce appropriations or money that's going to be needed for law enforcement, either Department of Corrections or Police Department. But a lot of these things are putting pressure on that. And I know the national agenda is to convince the local bodies to reduce funding for police work. We probably have a problem finding police recruits. We maybe need to increase pay. We need to maybe increase benefits. And your overall responsibility, above all else, is the protection of your citizens. So reducing public safety is not on the table. I heard one person suggest that earlier today. And that should be a very much a no. Thank you.
Any other opponents to number 14? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. There was a motion and a second to approve the amendment of the whole. No further lights. Roll call.
Johnson. Yes. Melton.
Yes.
Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0. Item 15, a resolution that the Omaha City Council requests the 2024 budget include one full-time grant-funded position in the Planning Department to administer the Climate Action Plan and to add a comment to the Planning Department summary page documenting the department's budget of the $1 million EPA grant funding.
Public hearing and vote on number 15 is today. I introduced this amendment. I'll just give it a short summary. What this amendment does is it formally adds the acceptance of the EPA $1 million grant and documentation of that grant-funded position within the Planning Department that has been designated to pursue and help comprise our comprehensive climate action plan. This amendment doesn't do anything we haven't already approved. It just documents it into the budget. It was observed during our public hearing there was nothing in the budget that reflected our commitment to that, which was true. So I see it as getting that done so the public knows and as a transparency and budgeting type of amendment. With that, I'll open it for proponents. Any proponents to number 15? Seeing none, any opponents?
Long day. Larry Store, 5015 Lafayette, Omaha, 68132. You know, I think only God knows whether there's going to be a climate action or not. So I don't know why we're kowtowing to all of the national organizations and the federal government on this. Unnecessary. If you need flood control items, things like that, yeah. But that can be arranged without jumping on the bandwagon of a national change our society program. This is ridiculous. If EPA is in everybody's pocket in every way. That's federal control of your local government and your local cities. It's got to stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other opponents to number 15? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Mr. Rowe.
I'm glad that you explained the reason for this resolution because it was unclear to me. It seemed to me that we voted for a climate action plan in the spring. And then just in the last week or two, we voted for accepting funding for the climate action plan. It seemed to me that everything's been pretty clear that it's going to be something that planning department is going to be working on. So I guess if it's just for a matter of transparency, if somebody's going to read the line item in the budget and they need to see that we did accept that funding and that we did act and I mean, I didn't vote for it, but we did act on and establish that we would put a plan together. I'm not sure what this resolution was doing, but from your explanation, it's just merely for people to read it in the budget.
That's correct. So the budget reflects that we are in fact doing this in 2024, which has already been approved, but just wasn't included in the proposed budget originally.
Okay. seemed redundant to me, but I guess if it's for transparency, I'm for that.
Thank you. I don't see any further lights. Is there a motion? I'll second. Roll call.
Johnson. Yes. Melton.
No.
Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 4-2. Item 16, a resolution to approve an increase of an additional 1% to the budgeted restricted funds for the fiscal year 2024.
The vote on number 16 is today. It requires the approval of 6 council members. There is no public hearing on this item. Is that correct? Requires 5 votes. Is there a motion?
Move the approval.
There's a motion and a second. And just a notation that the agenda does say it requires a vote of 6, but in fact requires a vote of 5, as just confirmed with the law department. So there's a motion and a second. Roll call.
Johnson.
Let's see, Mr. Curtis, do you want to address this item?
Yeah, we tried to work up Steve Curtis, City Finance, we tried to work up a concise statement, and I think the most concise way to say this is this increase to the restricted funds lid gives the city the increased flexibility in the future for budgets to be in compliance with state law. It does not make any changes to the current budget as submitted.
Okay.
Melton.
Yes.
Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0. Item 17, a resolution to approve the 2024 City of Omaha budget as submitted by the mayor and finance director with revisions adopted by city council at this meeting.
The public hearing on the proposed budget was already held, so this is the vote today on the budget and now as amended, which is number 17. So this does not require any public hearing. Is there a motion?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. No further lights. Roll call.
Johnson. Melton.
Yes.
Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 5-1. Item 18, a resolution to approve the 2024-2029 Capital Improvement Program. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
The public hearing was already held on the capital improvement program, so this is just the vote on number 18 today. I do see a light. Ms. Johnson, you're recognized.
Yes, and Mr. President, just want to make my objection known. This budget, capital improvement, does not adequately support the needs of the Omaha community. We still have individuals that are bleeding within the Omaha community. Yes, we have thrown small amounts of support to the down and trouted, but we have not addressed the needs of small businesses. We must do more. With that being said, I will be voting no for this as well.
Thank you. Ms. Melton, you're recognized.
I just want to make sure that for everybody out there, we're voting on the capital improvement project, and these are what we use bonds for capital improvements. We cannot use these funds for anything other than capital improvements. That would be major infrastructure projects such as bridges, roads, major projects in our parks, the widening of roads, buildings. So capital improvement plan, and this is a 5-year plan that we put out. So that's what we use. Our budget right now is, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, the general fund is around $520 million, but our capital improvement, it's another $500+ million. Is that correct, Mr. Curtis?
Steve Curtis, City Finance, that's correct.
Okay, so that's what we're approving, this other $500 million. It doesn't come out of the general fund for major projects, improvement projects in our cities, just for the public's awareness of what we're voting on right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson.
Thank you. I'd like to echo the sentiments of point of clarification, understand fully what capital improvement is. However, my point of view regarding meeting the needs of the community that is not being met from an overall standpoint still holds true. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Harding.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve. No further lights. Roll call.
Johnson.
No.
Melton.
Yes.
Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 5-1. Item 19, to consider a Class C liquor license for Moxie Hotel located at 409 South 12th Street.
Public hearing and vote on number 19 is today. Proponents, please. Looks like we have someone here. Yeah.
It's me.
Yeah,
He
go ahead.
was on.
Yeah, it's
The
okay.
owner was on for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'm Tracy Travis with Dine and Dash Lodging requesting a liquor license. You need the address for,
And this is number 19, right?
yep,
Okay. Yeah, and then just your address?
for them?
Yeah.
For them,
Yeah, it's fine.
409 South 12th Street.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
thanks for staying here. I know it's been a long afternoon. Any other proponents on number 19? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Motion and a second, roll call.
Johnson. Melton.
Yes.
Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
Thank you. Good luck.
You can go.
Item 20, to consider a Class C liquor license for Hanks Entertainment located at 3922 Ames Avenue.
Public hearing and vote on number 20 is today. Proponents, please. Thank you for staying, too.
Hello, Kevin Cook, 3922 Ames Avenue, Hanks Entertainment. And we can simply keeping the name the same. We just changing one of the members. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other proponents today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Ms. Johnson.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Roll call.
Johnson.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes.
Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 21, to consider a Class I liquor license for El Patron Mexican Restaurant located at 1605 Vinton Street.
Public hearing and vote on number 21 is today. Proponents, please.
Hello, my name is Lorenzo, and I'm the owner of El Patron, and just want to get my liquor license.
Thank you. And your address, too?
1605 Vincent Street.
Thanks. Any other proponents today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing's closed. Ms. Johnson?
Comment.
Okay.
Move the approval.
Second.
I'm gonna call it a motion by Melton and a second by Bagley to approve. Roll call.
Johnson. Melton.
Yes.
Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
Thank you.
Item 22, to consider a Class I liquor license for Sandpoint located at 655 North 114th Street.
Public hearing and vote on number 22 is today. Proponents, please.
Jonathan Taylor, 655 North 114th Street. Liquor.
Here to answer any questions? Yeah, great, thank you. Any other proponents today on number 22? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing's closed.
Move the approval.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call.
Johnson.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes.
Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0. Item 23. Item 23, to consider a Class Z liquor license for Patriarch Distillers located at 11005 East Circle.
Public hearing and vote on number 23 is today. Is this by Zoom today? Okay, I think we have the proponent by Zoom. We'll get you off mute here in a second. Okay, try that. Can you hear us there?
Yes.
Okay. Name and address.
My name is Jeff.
Yeah, go ahead.
Jeff Doring at Patriarch Distillers. And we are just applying for a license so we can store our
finished goods of our spirits and aging barrels of our spirits at this location at Grattan Warehouse at 11005 E Circle. It's only going to be used for storage facilities.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other proponents that want to speak today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing's closed. Mr. Rowe.
I move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion, a second to approve. Roll call.
Johnson.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes.
Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0. Item 24, a resolution to approve the revised preliminary plat for Coventry Wood located northeast of 216th and Harrison Streets. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
Public hearing and vote on number 24 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing's closed.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call.
Johnson.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes.
Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0. Items 25 and 26 can be considered together for Bajas located southwest of 18th and Howard Streets. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval. Item 25, a resolution to approve the final plat. Item 26, a resolution to approve the subdivision agreement.
Public hearing and vote on items 25 and 26 are today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing's closed.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call.
Johnson. Melton.
Yes.
Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0. Consent agenda. Any member of the City Council may cause any item placed on the consent agenda to be removed. Items removed from the consent agenda shall be taken up by the City Council immediately following the consent agenda in the order in which they were removed, unless otherwise provided by the City Council Rules of Order.
The public hearing on agenda items 27 through 30 were held on August 29th. I don't see any further lights. Is there a motion?
Move the approval.
Motion and a second. Roll call.
Johnson. Melton.
Yes.
Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
The public hearings on agenda items 31 through 51 are today. If you wish to address the City Council regarding these items, please come to the microphone, indicate the agenda item number you wish to address, identify yourself by name, address on who you represent, and if you are a proponent or an opponent. This is 31 through 51.
My name is Scott Lurie, 15548 Burdette Street, Omaha, Nebraska, here in reference to item number 31. Here to support myself on this.
All right, great. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Anyone else on these items? See none, public hearings closed. Are you on these items, Larry? 31 to 51? Yeah. Okay.
Larry Storr, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha, 68132. I'm basically opposed to 44 and 45. And number 45 particularly because I don't think the citizens know enough about the home program. I think our law enforcement people have a few issues with who qualifies for being sent home instead of detained. And I think there's probably been some people that committed crimes right after they were sent home. But they keep going back and keep getting assessed and sent home again. So maybe we need a presentation
Larry, that's not
to find out
what's,
what that's about. I'm against it, okay? I'm against it.
Okay, thank you. Public hearings on 31 through 51 are closed.
Move the approval.
There's a motion by Melton, second by Harding. Roll call.
Johnson. Melton.
Yes.
Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
Brother Sebastian is really good right now. But anyway.
Yeah.
Item 52, an ordinance to approve the Blue Stem Prairie Second Edition, Phase 1 and 2, Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Agreement.
The vote on number 52 is today. There are no further lights. Oh, Ms. Johnson, you're recognized. Mr. Harding, are you sure you want to second that item?
Oh, actually,
Yeah. I didn't- I didn't think you did either. There's a motion by Councilmember Johnson and a second by Mr. Rowe. No further lights? Roll call.
Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 5-0. Harding abstains. Item 53, an ordinance to approve the restated memorandum of agreement with the Professional Firefighters Association of Omaha, Local 385, concerning healthcare trust establishment.
The vote on number 53 is today. Ms. Johnson, you're recognized.
Second.
Motion and a second. No further lights. Roll call.
Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Abstain.
Motion passed 5-0. Festerson abstains. Item 54, a resolution to approve an updated budget for the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds in the amount of $112,591,455.
Public hearing and vote on number 54 is today. Proponents, please.
Bernard Indenbosch, Deputy City Attorney. I'm here, as well as Nicole Sweeney from the Finance Department. This is a requirement of the ARPA funding that we receive. Obviously, it lists generally the ARPA projects. Obviously, as you know, individual allocations have come to you for approval, and they will continue to do so. But this is, you adopted a similar resolution last year. There's obviously have been a few changes for projects that have come before you. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to attempt to answer them.
Okay. Thank you. Other proponents? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. The coronavirus, the ARPA funds, none of which address the needs of small businesses within communities in which these funds should have been supportive of. Therefore, I will be voting no on this item.
Okay. Thank you. I may ask just one question too, Mr. Curtis. I know this is a requirement and we're updating the allocations, but there are still allocations to be made that are not reflected on this this summary, right? You're still dealing with some funds that remain to be allocated.
Steve Curtis, City Finance. There was about 600,000, and the decision was made, similar to what the state and others have done, is to use the remainder for rehiring, which was certainly a component of what you could do, with the understanding that if there were other programs, we could. We'll get you a cleaner version, because I think by the time we do the mental health facility, we could be about out, but we can get you an updated.
Yeah, that'd be desirable. I know we talked about this in Finance Committee, and it's important we just keep track, in addition to the requirements, that, what we're doing today, the actual balances as projects come and go, or maybe don't use all their funding, and therefore additional opportunities, right? Okay, thank you. No further lights. Is there a motion? Motion and a second. Roll call.
Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Harding. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 5-1. Item 55, an ordinance to approve an amendment to the collective bargaining agreement with the Omaha Police Officers Association that adopts the new pay plans for the 2024 and 2025 payroll years. Personnel Board recommends approval.
Public hearing on number 55 is today. Proponents, please. Chief Schmaderer.
Good evening to the council. Todd Schmaderer, Chief of Police, 505 South 15th Street. There is a national staffing crisis in law enforcement. Ever since 2020, attrition has increased and applicants have decreased. The Omaha Police Department is unfortunately a full participant in the national staffing crisis. The Omaha Police Department retains approximately 8% of our applicants once we go through the vetting process. Out of the approximately 400 applicants we had on the last class, or the last application process, we're going to have a class of 20 starting October 2nd. That underscores the need to have large applicant pools. We used to average around 750, 1,000, even 2,000 if you go back a decade. As of today, the Omaha Police Department is down 99 officers. Local law enforcement agencies have increased their overall pay, offered bonuses, and hiked starting pay to compete and elevate over the Omaha Police Department. Nationally, departments are increasing their pay as well as a means to attract candidates. The Omaha Police Department is the largest and the flagship agency of the state of Nebraska. It is imperative the pay is commensurate with our position in the state to attract quality applicants. The mayor and I were determined to correct the issue and brought forward a pay plan proposed where the Omaha Police Department would be the highest to start and the highest to top out. This was done as a means to stem the tide of attrition with veteran officers and to increase the applicant pool. I view the proposed pay package as prudent and necessary so the Omaha Police Department can attempt to crawl out of the national hiring crisis. If passed, an aggressive hiring campaign will commence highlighting the new pay package and other benefits of working for the Omaha Police Department. I'm going to remain in the event there's any questions. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Other proponents?
Bernard Indenbosch, Deputy City Attorney, and Deb Sander, the HR Director, is here with me. That we were involved in the negotiations, have a fair amount of detail about the numbers. If you want to get into the numbers, they're covered in the cover letter. I anticipate you've had an opportunity to review that, as have members of the public. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any. I do want to thank the OPOA for their time. There were some stumbles here trying to figure out, whenever you're eliminating some steps and trying to figure out how to recalibrate where people are, that does lead to some difficulty. We were able to work through that, and I do appreciate their efforts as well. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you. Other proponents, Mr. Connor.
I would say good afternoon, but it's actually good evening, Council. So I'm Tony Connor. I'm the president of the Omaha Police Officers Association. My address is 13445 Crier Avenue. I've been honored to serve as president of the OPOA for the last 5 years and to give a public voice to Omaha police officers, sergeants, lieutenants, and captains that work tirelessly to keep the city safe. As the recruitment and retention crisis continue to grow in Omaha and around the country, more and more is asked of our officers to maintain the level of public safety our citizens expect and deserve. Working in law enforcement carries its risks and burdens unlike any other vocation. Where else do you, by virtue of your work, face gunmen pointing guns at you or citizens intending to harm you? Where else, by virtue of your commitment to protecting society, do you face an escalating level of legal scrutiny for doing your job and addressing that harm? This reality creates a dissuasive effort on the recruitment and retention of qualified officers. As a result, law enforcement agencies across our region have increased wages to help recruit and retain qualified and capable police officers. I am here today in support of this ordinance to raise the pay for Omaha police officers to help our city compete in this most difficult environment. We choose to live and work here in Omaha because Omaha is a special place. We recognize and appreciate the support of law enforcement in every corner of this city. Our survey research shows the public support for the Omaha Police Department and the work we do have never been higher. Additionally, we have a strong and supportive relationship with Mayor Gene Stothert and the City Council. We're certainly aware of other cities around the country that have strained or dysfunctional relationships with law enforcement at best. And I want to thank each of you for acknowledging the crisis we face and for taking actions to solve these problems. Our Chief, Todd Schmatter, deserves credit for the culture he has created within the department. He has held officers accountable through fair and consistent discipline while praising deserving officers for their brave and exceptional work. The Chief's focus on a large gang unit has worked to disrupt violent crime while bringing trust through a community service focus. We have a core unit with co-mental health responders that help officers on the street when we get calls involving the mentally ill. OPD has some of the best instructors in our academy, training officers to prepare them for any situation they may face, from an armed encounter to a simple report call. While other cities our size have seen significant increases in violent crime, our department has been featured in national news stories for reducing crime despite a national staffing crisis. This is a direct result of our tireless work of our officers and long hours dedicated to protecting our city. While we recognize the achievement of our department, these difficult times, we simply cannot ignore these staffing issues one more minute longer. The Omaha Police Department currently has 30% fewer officers, both in our Detective Bureau and in our gang unit. We have 25% fewer officers in our homicide unit, which must now borrow detectives from other units due to the labor-intensive and tedious work needed to solve a homicide. I get weekly calls and emails from my members working on short crews and patrol, which is the front line of everyday police work to protect our city. Each member of this council represents a constituency that expects a professional and well-trained police officer to respond to an emergency in their neighborhood. I appreciate the opportunities I've had to speak with each of you and about the public safety needs and priorities in your district. To meet these needs and priorities, we must take the financial steps necessary to ensure we recruit and retain a fully staffed and professional police force. Now is an urgent and crucial moment for our city to address these staffing crises. We are currently more than 100 officers short of our authorized strength. For the first time in my 23-year career, we see officers leaving the department with less than 10 years on at a rate that has never been seen before. 50 officers have retired or resigned this year alone, and we're expecting even more retirements by the end of the year. 28 officers will reach 25 years of service this year and may retire. And we also have about 25 that are going to reach 25 years of service next year. Of the 340 new recruit applicants we received last year, approximately 20 are qualified to start the academy next month. These are sobering numbers. This wage increase is only the first step to address this crisis. Since the NFL has just started this week, I'll use a football analogy. It's not time to spike the football with this ordinance today. 2024 will bring additional challenges, and I'm confident that we can work together to find meaningful solutions. I want to end my comments today by thanking Mayor Stothert and Chief Schmatter for their willingness to take the first step in addressing this problem. I also want to thank the chair officers of the OPOA. Our Vice President is Dan Martin. He's a lieutenant that works in the Northeast Precinct on the afternoon shift. Our treasurer is Justin Smith. He's a sergeant in the homicide unit. And Pat Dempsey is our secretary, who's in former homicide detective and former gang unit detective who now works with the OPOA and our legislative priorities. And I'm here to answer any questions you guys may have for me.
Thank you.
All right.
Any other proponents today?
Larry Storr, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha, 68132. I'm definitely in favor of this. We need to support everything, every way that we can. But we also need to pay attention to those in the community that are working against the police officers. We had some of them sitting on a few sessions of this body in their black Revolutionary Action Party shirts and their Che Guevara hats a couple of years back, particularly during 2020. Make a face if you want, but they were here. They were right there. And two of them were here again today, but they don't wear those shirts anymore. And it's all about taking the power away from the police and the money for the people that are against us. And those are Marxists. That's Marxist theory. Believe it or not, it's in action. Thank you.
Other proponents to number 55?
Good evening. Tamika Meese, North Omaha Community Partnership, 2406 Fowler Avenue. I'm speaking as a African-American citizen that resides in Omaha. And I have had the pleasure of working with the Omaha Police Department in various settings, one of which occurs weekly with Empowerment Omaha, where Omaha Police Department, along with other law enforcement divisions, meets with community leaders, members, and citizens. And we work together to come up with a solution when it comes to crime and violence in our area. I want to applaud and commend Chief Schmatter for his leadership and the culture that he brings to the department. And it shows with the relationship between the department and the community, and I speak for the community. And I would also be in support of this salary increase because it is needed. And as they explained better than I ever could, that they need to be competitive in this market to bring, talent that we need to protect Omaha. So with that being said, myself as a African American citizen of Omaha, I support it, and I thank Chief Schmatter and the Omaha Police Department, as we are a model city as recognized by the Obama Foundation, and that is because of the relationship that OPD has established with the Omaha community. Thank you.
Thank you. Other proponents today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Mr. Harding, is your light on?
It is.
Go ahead.
It's kind of been on for a while. I had to hold my breath, so. I wonder if Mr. Connor would use the football reference had the Eagles lost on Sunday, but. All kidding aside, this is a really important piece of business that we have before us, as has been pointed out, with the declining numbers of patrol numbers and our rank and file, and being down, as Chief Schmatter said, almost just short of 100. And I actually did a little math. I think you said the national average is about 8% of the applicants end up being qualifying for the classes. And this latest one, it's actually for the city of Omaha, is only 5%, 20 out of the 400 or so. And I remember back in the late 90s when I worked for the mayor's office that we did have over 1,000 applicants for these positions. And it just makes it, with a smaller pool to find the same number of qualified applicants, it's increasingly difficult. So we need to do what we can, not only to attract but retain our seasoned officers. And I think this is a step in that direction to address that issue. And it does come with a rather steep price tag, but it's one that I think is completely warranted, and one that we have to spend. So I want to commend the administration, Chief Schmatter, and OPOA for moving this forward and getting it to the point where we're acting on it today, because public safety is priority number one in my mind. We talk about economic development as another one of those legs on the stool of importance for the city of Omaha, but really, in my estimation, you can't have positive economic development if public safety is not your number one priority, because without that, you don't have safe streets, you don't have safe neighborhoods. So we need to make sure that that we not only retain and attract that talent to be the professional officers that we know and expect to serve the public. I'm completely in favor of this, and know that it's been worked into the budget so that we